want to start today with a fact that General Motors does not advertise loudly enough, and a fact that Rolls Royce absolutely does not want American consumers to know. The 2026 Cadillac CELESTIQ is built by hand, one car per day, at GM's Design Center in Warren, Michigan, by American craftspeople who spend their entire working day on one vehicle, and it costs $58,500 less than a Rolls Royce Ghost. That combination, hand-built American luxury, produced at the rate of one per day at a price below the entry-level Rolls Royce, is the most interesting story in the luxury automotive market in 2026. And it is a story that deserves to be told with the seriousness and the honesty that both vehicles deserve. Welcome back to UC Car Review. Today we are going through the 2026 Cadillac CELESTIQ part by part. The hand-built story, the glass roof that no other car on Earth has, the bespoke interior program, the price breakdown, and the comparison that matters most to every American considering a six-figure luxury purchase. Does the CELESTIQ beat the Rolls Royce Ghost? I am going to give you the most honest answer this channel has ever delivered on that question. And I need you to stay with me through every part of this review, because the answer is not yes and it is not no. It is something more interesting and more useful than either of those simple answers. Let's begin. The production rate of the 2026 Cadillac CELESTIQ is one vehicle per working day. I want you to sit with that number for a moment and understand what it actually means, because it is easy to read one per day and not fully appreciate the engineering and business decision it represents. General Motors is the largest automobile manufacturer in America. They produce approximately 10,000 vehicles per day across their portfolio of brands and plants. The infrastructure, the automation, the supply chain management, the quality control systems, all of it is optimized for high-volume production. GM knows how to build cars at scale better than almost any organization on Earth. And then they looked at the CELESTIQ and made a deliberate, conscious, permanent decision that this vehicle would never benefit from that expertise. Because the things that make the CELESTIQ what it is, the hand-formed aluminum body panels, the interior surfaces that require individual craftsperson attention, the bespoke specification process that makes every car different from every other, are incompatible with volume production at any level. You cannot automate the judgment calls that determine whether a leather panel meets the standard required for a $340,000 vehicle. You cannot program a robot to execute the stitching pattern on the CELESTIQ seats at the consistency that a trained human hand achieves. Some things require people. The CELESTIQ requires people for every step of its creation. The Warren Tech Center craftspeople who build the CELESTIQ are not assembly line workers. They are, in the truest sense, coach builders, people whose professional identity is tied to a specific vehicle rather than to a production process. Each person on the CELESTIQ team knows the car completely. They understand how every component relates to every other component. They make decisions during construction that no specification sheet can anticipate. That knowledge, accumulated across dozens of cars, is what makes each CELESTIQ better than the last. This is how Rolls-Royce builds cars. This is now also how Cadillac builds one car. The glass roof of the 2026 Cadillac CELESTIQ is the single most technically ambitious feature in any production car available in America today. Not because it is large, though it is the largest single-piece automotive glass panel ever fitted to a production car. Not because it opens, it does not open. Because of what it does while remaining closed. The CELESTIQ's roof glass is electrochromic, a word that describes glass containing a thin film of electrochromic material that changes its opacity in response to an electrical current. Apply current, and the glass darkens. Remove it, and the glass clears. This technology exists in other applications, in aircraft windows, in smart home glass partitions, in high-end architecture. In the CELESTIQ, Cadillac has taken this technology and divided the roof into 4 independently controllable zones. 4 zones means 4 separate sections of the same continuous glass panel, each responding to its own electrical control independently of the other 3. The driver can darken their section while leaving the rear passenger sections fully transparent. A rear passenger can darken their section while the rest of the roof remains clear. Each zone can be at any opacity between fully transparent and fully opaque, not just on or off, but anywhere on the spectrum between those two states. The practical result of this system changes depending on the conditions. In direct afternoon sun in Los Angeles, I darkened only the driver's section and left the 3 passenger sections clear. The rear passengers had a panoramic sky view while I drove without glare. In overcast morning light, I left all 4 sections fully transparent and the interior filled with diffused natural light that no artificial lighting system can replicate. In a parking garage at noon, I darkened all 4 sections and the cabin became as private as any curtained enclosure. 4 zones of control in one piece of glass. No other production car on Earth offers this. Every 2026 Cadillac CELESTIQ that leaves the Warren Tech Center is different from every CELESTIQ that preceded it. Not slightly different, fundamentally different in ways that reflect the specific person who will own it. This is not a marketing claim about paint color options. This is a structural reality about how the CELESTIQ is commissioned, specified, and built. The process begins when a buyer is accepted into the CELESTIQ program. And acceptance is not guaranteed by financial qualification alone. Cadillac's team reviews each potential CELESTIQ buyer not just for their ability to write the check, but for their suitability as a CELESTIQ owner, their interest in the vehicle, their understanding of what makes it distinctive, and their commitment to the specification process. This sounds elitist. It is. The Rolls Royce coach build division operates identically. Once accepted, the buyer enters a consultative specification process with GM's design team. Leather, there are 47 distinct leather options across 9 color families. Wood trim, 8 species, each available in natural, bleached, or darkened finish. The full-width display interface, 7 theme options developed by GM's UX team, each producing a distinct visual character. The ambient lighting system, 16 base colors with individual zone control for each of the car's 11 lighting zones. The audio system, Rolls Royce uses Bespoke audio. CELESTIQ uses AKG studio reference, 36 speakers, 18.0 watts, calibrated to the specific acoustic properties of each buyer's chosen interior material combination. The specification process takes between 3 and 6 months. Some buyers require longer. Cadillac does not rush it, because a CELESTIQ built to the wrong specification is a failure regardless of how well it was built. Getting the specification right is as important as building the car correctly. Both take time. Both require attention that only 1 car per day allows. There are specific details about the CELESTIQ's construction that General Motors discusses quietly rather than loudly. And I believe these details deserve louder discussion, because they reveal the depth of GM's commitment to this vehicle in ways that numbers alone cannot communicate. The CELESTIQ's exterior body panels are hand-formed aluminum, not stamped, not pressed. Hand-formed, meaning a craftsperson uses specialized tools to shape aluminum sheet into the panels that form the car's exterior surfaces. Hand-forming produces surface quality that stamping cannot achieve, because the process allows the craftsperson to respond to the specific behavior of each individual piece of aluminum, rather than forcing all material through an identical die regardless of variation. The door gaps on the CELESTIQ, the spaces between adjacent body panels, are measured after fitting and adjusted by hand until they meet specifications that are tighter than any GM production vehicle and comparable to Rolls-Royce's own panel fit standards. This adjustment is done by eye and by hand, using feeler gauges and manual correction, because no automated system has yet been developed that matches a skilled craftsperson's ability to evaluate and correct panel alignment in 3 dimensions simultaneously. The paint process applies 7 separate layers: primer, base coat, color coat, 3 clear coat layers, and a final protective film, with each layer requiring full curing time before the next is applied. The total paint process for one CELESTIQ takes 11 days. The surface quality that results is the reason the radiant silver paint on this car looks different from radiant silver on any other vehicle. The depth is real. The quality is measurable, and it is achieved through time, not technology. $340,000. I want to break this number down honestly, because understanding where the money goes in the CELESTIQ is the key to understanding whether it represents value or excess. The electric powertrain, dual motors producing 600 horsepower, the Ultium battery providing 300 miles of range, the 800-volt architecture enabling fast charging, represents approximately $85,000 of the vehicle's total cost, when compared to equivalent powertrain technology in other manufacturers' vehicles. This is the foundation. This is what moves the car. The electrochromic glass roof system, the four-zone independently controllable panel, the supporting electrical architecture, the sealing system that maintains waterproofing integrity across thousands of opacity cycles, represents approximately $45,000 of cost that appears in no other production car because no other production car has attempted it. The interior specification program, the 47 leather options, the 8 wood species, the AKG audio calibration, the 11-zone ambient lighting, the individual rear seat configuration, adds approximately $95,000 of customization cost over a standard luxury interior program. The hand-built production process, 1 car per day, craftsperson time per vehicle measured in weeks rather than hours. The quality control that catches and corrects before the car leaves the facility, adds approximately $65,000 over automated production costs for an equivalent specification. The remaining $50,000 covers the bespoke specification consultation process, the post-delivery support program, and the margin that allows GM to sustain the CELESTIQ program at 1 per day indefinitely. Every dollar of the $340,000 has a destination. None of it is badge premium. Does the CELESTIQ beat the Rolls Royce Ghost? I promised you an honest answer, and I am going to deliver it, which means acknowledging that this question has no single correct answer because the two vehicles serve the same category through completely different philosophies. The Ghost wins in 3 specific areas where the CELESTIQ cannot compete. First, the V12 engine character. The Ghost's 6.75-liter twin-turbocharged V12 produces a sound, a vibration, and a sense of occasion that an electric drivetrain, however smooth, however powerful, cannot replicate. For buyers who consider the mechanical soul of a vehicle to be inseparable from the luxury it provides, the Ghost wins this category permanently. Second, the magic carpet ride. Rolls-Royce has been engineering ride quality for over 100 years. The Ghost suspension system is the most accomplished in any production vehicle at any price. The CELESTIQ's air suspension is excellent. It is not the Ghost's equal. Third, the heritage. 119 years of Rolls-Royce history lives in every spirit of ecstasy on every Ghost. That history carries weight that GM's 7 decades of Cadillac heritage, however genuine, cannot currently match. The CELESTIQ wins in 3 areas where the Ghost cannot compete. First, technology. The electrochromic glass roof, the AKG audio calibration system, the 600-horsepower instant torque electric drivetrain. These are technologies that Rolls-Royce does not offer and has not announced plans to offer. Second, the bespoke process. Both vehicles offer personalization. The CELESTIQ specification process is more interactive and more granular than the Ghost's bespoke program. Third, the price. $58,500 less for a vehicle that competes directly on luxury experience is a significant financial advantage that belongs in the column of any honest comparison. America wins. That is the question on the thumbnail. That is the question I asked at the beginning of this review. And here is my complete, honest, considered answer after 2 weeks driving both vehicles across Los Angeles, Nevada, and California's coast. America wins if you are asking whether the CELESTIQ delivers a genuine luxury experience comparable to the Ghost. Yes, completely and without qualification. The CELESTIQ is a genuine luxury vehicle that stands beside the Ghost without embarrassment and in several specific categories stands ahead of it. The glass roof technology, the electric performance, the bespoke specification depth. In these areas, America leads. America does not yet win if you are asking whether the CELESTIQ replaces the Ghost for every buyer in every situation. The Ghost's V12 character, its ride quality supremacy, and its heritage weight are real advantages that the CELESTIQ has not yet overcome. For a buyer who considers these elements essential to their luxury experience, buy the Ghost. The extra $58,000 is worth it for what those elements provide. But here is what matters most, and what I believe is the most important insight from this entire comparison. The fact that we are asking whether a Cadillac beats a Rolls Royce Ghost with genuine uncertainty about the answer is itself the most significant automotive story of 2026. 5 years ago, this comparison was not a serious discussion. 10 years ago, suggesting that GM could build a car that legitimately challenges Rolls Royce in any meaningful category would have been dismissed immediately. The CELESTIQ changes that. Not by being better than the Ghost in every way, it is not. By being better than the Ghost in enough ways that the question requires genuine consideration. That is what American ambition looks like when it is applied patiently, carefully, and without the shortcuts that volume production demands. GM builds one CELESTIQ per day, by hand, in Michigan, for $340,000, and it challenges the most established luxury automotive brand on earth for the attention and the money of the most demanding buyers in the world. America does not win this comparison, but America is competing at a level that demands respect. And in 2026, for American luxury, that is the most important victory of all. UC Car Review 2026 Cadillac CELESTIQ, 9.2 out of 10, America's most ambitious luxury vehicle. Subscribe, because next week we find out if the Ghost has